For Monday, June 26th, our 3 p.m. regular session of the Cleveland City Council. I'll call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mayor Brooks?
Here.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Here.
Councilman Estes? Here. Councilman Cassida?
Here.
Councilman May?
Here.
Councilman Hughes?
Here.
Councilman Webb?
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. As is our tradition, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I've asked Vice Mayor Johnson to pray, but if we could, please, as we stand, have a moment of silence. A member of a very close family of ours has lost their son to a fentanyl overdose, and I think it raises the awareness of it can happen to anyone, any family, and raises the awareness of all the work we need to do to get this dangerous, poisonous drug off of our streets. I know Chief Gibson fights this battle every single day in the city of Cleveland, and if we could remember the family of Michael Ray, who passed this weekend, as we stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you once again for the opportunity to be here today to serve our community. We pray for your guidance and pray, dear God, that you continue to bless our city and the families that are bereaved, Lord. Dave and Debbie and Ray, Lord, and the loss of their son. We just pray, Father, that you be with them. And other requests, dear Heavenly Father, continue to watch over our community, continue to give us the wisdom, the insight, and the ability to make the right choices that you would have us to make as we deliberate on our agenda items. All these blessings we pray in your holy and righteous name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor Johnson, for that invocation today. The next item on the agenda is to waive the reading of the minutes for our last regular session, which was June 12 of 2023, and that does require a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council of the City of Cleveland waive the reading of the minutes of the regular session of the City Council held on June the 12th, 2023, and approve them as read.
Second.
It's a proper motion by Vice Mayor Johnson. It's a proper second by Councilman May. If we have no further discussions or comments, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman May?
Aye.
Councilman Hughes?
Aye.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman Estes? Councilman Cassida?
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Item number 5 on the agenda is special presentations and public comments. There are none for the 3 o'clock session. It takes us immediately to item number 6, which is hearing, petitions, and communications. Item 6A is a public hearing to be held to hear public comments concerning a request by the City of Cleveland for consideration of a plan of service and resolution to annex 64.2 acres for the right-of-way located at Interstate 75, including a portion of right-of-way approximately mile marker 24 and mile marker 20, and right-of-way located at Harrison Pike from the intersection of Freewell Road, Old Harrison Lane to Holmes Street Northwest, as well as a plan of service and resolution to annex an ordinance to zone 4.37 acres from unincorporated county to R2 low-density single and multifamily. All of this is included on tax map 041, parcel 5, and was passed by the Planning Commission 7-0. I will now declare the public hearing to be open. We will begin with comments from staff. The talented Mr. Robert Varnell. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Varnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This item today is public hearing for both the plan of service, the annexation, as well as the zoning of the Greenway piece of property. I just want to make that clear. This public hearing is for all 3 of those aspects packed into one fun public hearing. So the primary purpose of this is number one, the city's expending money, expanding the Greenway. We're going to take that property into the city so we can actually do that work. as well as some of the interstate right-of-way, which is more of a emergency services driven focus from a planning perspective. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions for anyone who has it. That's the gist and the information that kind of presents itself.
Thanks, Mr. Varnell, for that explanation. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in favor of this zoning and plan of service request? Speak now. Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition to this request? Like sign. Seeing none, this public hearing will be closed. Takes us to item B, which is a public hearing to hear public comments concerning the request by the City of Cleveland for consideration of a plan of service, a resolution to annex, and an ordinance to zone 3.76 acres more or less property on Freewell Road from unincorporated RA, residential agricultural zoning. From unincorporated to RA, residential agricultural zoning. This is on tax map 48, group parcel B, was approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. I'll declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell, look forward to your comments.
My first comment is specifically to the zoning aspect of this. I believe the ordinance should read light industrial. I want to make that very clear that it does. Because if there's a comment or a editing error in here, that's on me. I apologize about that.
Okay.
But it is light industrial because of the use as a utility use, which requires a light industrial zoning in the city. So that's why we're going in that direction. Otherwise, I think Joe gave a pretty good synopsis of the piece of property and what it is, and it's right next to existing city neighborhoods, and so we're annexing those properties in at this time to continue moving forward. Any questions on?
All right, any comments or questions with that clarification and correction from Mr. Varnell? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Varnell. I'll declare this public hearing to be open. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this request as presented? Seeing none and seeing none. Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Like sign. Seeing no one requesting, I will declare this public hearing to be closed. Item C is public hearing to hear public comments concerning a request by the City of Cleveland for consideration of a plan of service or resolution to annex and an ordinance to zone 7.87 acres more or less of property located on Forest Avenue Northeast from unincorporated county to RA residential agricultural. Is that correct, Mr. Varnell?
This one's also light industrial.
Also light industrial. This is on tax map 51, group G. It was approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. I will now declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell, we look forward to your comments. Thanks for the correction.
Oh, yes, no, well, that's my mistake. It's what it should have read in the first place, so who knows how that happened, but it does. This one, again, industrial zoning is a specific point. This is a public hearing for both the plan of service as well as the annexation and the zoning to light industrial. The property's already in use and will be consistent with what it is today, so if there's any other specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
We will declare the public hearing to be open, and anyone would like to speak in favor of this request on Forest Avenue? Seeing no one requesting. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this request? And likewise, seeing no one requesting, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. Item D on the agenda is public comments, public hearing to hear public comments concerning request. This is the one that's been moved, correct, Mr.
Table this.
Fivas?
Table it.
All right.
I believe you have to open the public hearing, and then have comments, but then we'll bring it back at the next meeting as well.
Got it. So we will proceed with hearing public comments concerning requests by the trustees of the Church of God of Prophecy for consideration of an ordinance to zone 8 acres more or less from R3 high density and multi-family zoning to a PUD, plan unit development. All of this is on tax map 41E. It was denied by the Planning Commission 7-0. I'll now declare the public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell, any comments? I know that we're going to
Yeah,
table this until the next.
yeah, that's correct. Just we'll get a little bit more further insight on it and come back
So are they coming back to the planning commission next?
Well,
On
no, unless you all take action to do so, otherwise it'll come back here.
Okay.
All right, would anyone like to speak in favor of this request? Seeing none. Would anyone like to speak in opposition? Likewise, we will declare this public hearing to be closed, and we will bring this back at a future meeting.
It'll be on the agenda next time.
Great. Item E on the agenda is to hear public comments concerning a request by the City Council to consider an ordinance to amend Cleveland Municipal Code Title 14 zoning ordinance, Section 1.6.4 building definitions and Sections 4.6.3A to include a minimum square footage. Planning Commission approved this 7-0. I'll declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell, would you like to make comments from the staff?
Yes, just brief comments from staff. This is cleaning up some things we've been kind of looking at. We've been doing this over the past year and a half, cleaning up various little components of the ordinance, and this is yet another one.
Great.
We're going through. So if there's no specific questions,
Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in favor of this request for this municipal code change? Speak now. Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in opposition of this request? Like sign. Seeing none, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. Item F, as in Frank, is to hear public comments concerning request by Don Jacobson and adjoining owners to abandon a section of the unopened right-of-way located between Pugh Street Northeast and Lang Street Northeast. This was approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. I know we will take action at another meeting, but we will declare this public hearing to be open. Mr. Varnell?
yes, we're just waiting on one signature, so we're going to follow the policy to the T, and that's what we should do, so we'll bring it back at a meeting in the near future.
Thank you for those comments. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request for the abandonment of this unopened right-of-way? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? Like sign, seeing none, we will declare this public hearing to be closed. Takes us to the consent calendar, which is item 7 on the agenda. This was presented by Mr. Fivas at the 2 o'clock meeting.
So moved, Mayor.
That's proper motion by Councilman Hughes, properly seconded by Councilman May. Are there any comments or questions from the council regarding the consent agenda? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Hughes,
Aye.
Councilman May,
Aye.
Councilman Webb,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie, Councilman Estes, Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. The next item on the agenda, item 8, is unfinished business. There is none for the 3 o'clock session. It takes us to item 9, reports from council members. We begin today by the distinguished Honorable Councilman Hughes. Councilman Hughes?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say a record has been set today. When we started our meeting, everybody here was working. We didn't have any guests. This gentleman came in after the meeting. Just wanted to point that out today. It's a slow day. But help me understand, City Manager and JJ, when you go down Peerless Road and you come into Paul Huff and then you continue across the street, the side street where McAllister's is, all the way in the back, Mike Davis owned that property, or his company. And it's my understanding that that property has been purchased and there's going to be some type of offices there. Is that right?
Right behind McAllister?
No, right where the road, which follows all the way to a dead end, runs into property. And there's going to be some offices built that it's been purchased by D&G own that property. And
It's a dentist
but they sold that. Who is coming in there?
It's a dentist that has another office in Appleton, off Appleton Pike there in Collegeville. I'll have to get that.
It's a dentist's office.
Yeah, they actually are building the exact same building they built there at the corner of Appleton and, I can't think of the name of the road that goes back towards Couches, barbecue.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a rather nice building, and we can show you the elevation.
It's a two-story building.
Yeah, we can show you what it's supposed to look like. It's
Okay.
rather nice.
And then you have the harbor building, and beyond the harbor building, there's gonna be a hotel.
That's correct.
Okay, and what kind of hotel is that?
They have not submitted plans yet, we just know that the company sold it to a hotel provider, and we don't know what franchise yet.
Is that a hotelier that owns another hotel here in town?
Don't know if it's in town, I just know they have multiple hotels.
Okay. Okay, what else is going back there that we're not aware of?
That's it. But I think that's submitted plans, that's everything so far back there.
So the hotel is actually, is beyond the fence? The fence back there that
Yes,
runs
the
beyond?
hotel is behind, kind of cut a corner behind the Harbor Freight.
Okay, yeah,
Beside the
Yeah.
building, the
Dennis gonna have.
probably
Okay.
it.
All right, now, you have the Hampton Inn, and you have the Marriott being built, and then you have, is that an extended stay
Yes,
next to the, and what, is that a national name?
yes,
What is that?
Stay,
stay
APT.
at home or something like that, or something.
I've never heard of APT. So is that, you say it's,
Yeah, it's a rent them about it's an extended stay, you can rent them for a day, but they've got suites with a little kitchen.
okay. Okay, several months ago, Joe, I took you over to a place across from Target there where the people, the homeless were, had thrown all kind of things back there. And the city went and cleaned it out. Did a marvelous job. There wasn't anything back there. Now, they've started again and they're having fires at night. And the people in Benjamin Crest are complaining about it. I received a call from Dan Bowles because his property is up on the hill there and they're doing that right below his property. So that's an area we need to check out, just like the area behind Atkinson we talked about last week,
Right.
up by those apartments.
Yeah, we've actually, probably on a weekly basis, we're clearing different, I wouldn't say there's people that just jump like that out of properties. So we're getting actually fairly sophisticated on doing that, so we'll get on that and do that.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's all I have.
And I wouldn't necessarily say that they're homeless camps, they're just places where just a bunch of stuff has been left.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Councilman Hughes. Councilman Webb?
Joe, did you have anything about Tinswood Park you wanted to update us on?
Oh, yeah, I know about that. That's Pete Patel, Mitch Patel, and Joe. Joe Morris
We
got
had
a piece
some
of it,
rendering,
25% of it.
that I can show you.
Because that's on Joe.
I was trying to figure out how to get it up on the board, I have them right here. If this is now the time you want me to show this.
Certainly.
We don't have them digital, but you can see, there is that. So you have number of courts with a facility above that, with kind of there. We met with the Pickleball Association, and they have given us some feedback. Right now, they're working on the underlying design for that, and I'll set those down. Is we're looking to have a tournament facility that can attract any level of tournament in the community. And I will say, don't take this covered facility to the bank. We are still pricing what those cost. We have the people that have built them in a number of communities. And, a few years ago, they were about $600,000, and now obviously the prices are higher. So We hope to be able to do that if our budget can do that, but we'll give you those options when we have this.
What is that building? What material, John?
Do you know what kind of material that is, Jonathan?
Which building are you talking about?
It's the pickleball cover.
The main cover? or-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a steel structure with a see-through membrane that lets light through. It's not canvas, it's actually.
It kind of looks like canvas.
It looks like canvas. What is the life of that product, you know?
No, we need to research that. It's, I know they have one in Opelika, Alabama, and we
Yeah.
need to see what the,
And that one's about 10 years and it's still in pretty good shape.
I would say they're probably 30, 40 years.
But that's part of the due diligence.
Yeah. Joe, what about the existing buildings at Tinsley?
It would be good to get up at the microphone, Kristen. At the existing, which buildings?
All of them.
All of it.
Yeah. They all need maintenance and updating.
Softball field.
Yeah, I mean, on the softball, we've met with several people from the softball leagues. We have a plan to replace all the fences, and to essentially give it a good, paint with, making some of the other areas that are unsafe, to the best of funds. Our intent right now is to take down, the restrooms and all of those other buildings alongside there and relocate them to a different location. And we would put a new restroom, that would be shared with the pickleball and the baseball. So there would be a new restroom over on that side. So a lot of that stuff needs to come down and it would all be redone.
So
That's
the
good.
baseball field, you'll have to, if they got a tournament going there, you got gate money going in, they'll have to leave the facility to go to the pickleball field, to go to the bathroom and come back.
We haven't been doing that many softball tournaments.
I'm just saying, if it is, that's what you.
Then we'll stamp their hands.
Do you have any feel for the timetable of all of this, Joe, the timeline
Next spring.
next spring?
Completed,
Including parking lot?
yeah, I was gonna say that, my thing would be more of the approach to those buildings than it is the buildings. So completion by spring of '24 or beginning spring of '24?
Completion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be good.
that'd be great.
Any,
Yeah, I mean, they've been working on the engineering and coming up all of that, and, you know, we'll probably, this is an elaborate conversation, but I guess we have time. We're actually, at the next meeting, we're gonna talk about the facilities, and we're gonna talk about, there, but, one of the things that we've talked to some of the users is to do this work will probably require a hard shutdown for extended amount of time with Tinsley Park on certain elements in there. So we're trying to figure out how to phase the work to keep as much of the park open at those times. So that's probably some of the more difficult parts that we are trying to figure out how to get all those pieces to come in.
Well, I know you've got it on your list, but the drainage on that whole facility seems like it's off. If you go on a rainy day, the parking lot just holds water.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not set up to drain. And,
It's because there's probably no pipe in the entire thing, because they probably.
right.
I mean, is that, I mean.
Yeah, I think
is
they
it-
try to use the drainage, I mean, the asphalt to drain off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any catch basins or
There are.
interior draining at all.
It's all, the whole thing is kind of done this, so it's kind of, it's
Yeah.
there. So what Jonathan and Scott Caldwell would know a lot more about this, and please tell me if I say something wrong, Jonathan, is that we will scarify the thing and just pretty much rough up and take down all of everything that's there, and then we will put a level of stone on top of that to create a new base. And that's where, we'll use the lasers and try to make sure that the water is running where it should be, and then obviously put the asphalt and try to get the
Yeah,
drainage right.
and probably a drain system has to be put in, I mean, to some extent.
Probably, and we're, like you said, we're raising the entire grade of the parking lot and changing the grade to force it to where we want it
Yeah,
to go in between the, basically left field, field 3 and where the new tennis court or pickleball would go, funnel it all down to the creek there.
yeah,
So it will, that area will need some piping, but we'll surface drain everything to that area.
okay.
That's the plan. Because we don't want it to, we don't want it to sheet flow off into the field, because then we'll have a problem on the field.
Pretty sure the lack of a drainage system has hastened the deterioration of that parking lot.
Yeah. And we've
Yeah, I
got
think
a
that's
backup
right,
there
yeah.
underneath it that we can't-
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's more of the previous use. I think the materials are probably awful, and they probably, since you have a digester that sits underneath there, you're gonna have your obvious settling.
When we redid the tennis court, there was less than an inch of rock underneath the tennis court, which is obviously not what you wanna do. I would imagine it's probably the same way, there's hardly any gravel underneath it, so it's all
It just wasn't done right the first time.
old subgrade.
yeah, so that parking lot will probably have to be undercut.
Well, that's what we're gonna do, we're just gonna take that base and build on top of it and scarify it and compact it down and then put new rock on top of that and then build the asphalt. So we're looking 6, 8 inches higher than we are now.
Okay,
To keep that, to get that subgrade to, instead of taking it all out and undercutting, because some of that we're not allowed to undercut because it was the old digester plant.
yeah, it could,
So we
yeah.
can't take that out, so we have to go up instead.
So when you go up and your ball fields are gonna be existing, or you, I mean, how do you change the elevation? You'll work it out, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'll stay the same, we're just raising the parking lot grade is what we're raising.
Yeah.
And we'll funnel all the water to that one area, and we'll put a couple of catch basins. It'll be a pretty large pipe that'll go out to the creek from.
Yeah,
The good timelines, Joe, would be when school starts and the activity is limited up there. Would it be a good time to tear those buildings down and start the process? Trying to help you with it, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Trying to,
yeah,
You're more than welcome to do it.
yeah,
Well, here's kind of what the preliminary conversations have been. The park will probably remain open until the fall, so you'll get through the swimming, and you'll get through some of the nice months in the fall, is that we will start construction probably as early as the next couple months, doing the pickleball stuff, and that's where we'll spend most of our time. And during that time, we'll be taking down all the rusted fence and replacing that and doing those types of activities over there. At that time, probably get into September or October, and then we will shut down everything there except for probably the pickleball courts. So we'll do a hard shut off, and the people that want to play pickleball, there's still that parking lot up front, is that they will still be able to come, you know, if people want to walk through and, you know, go and do what they want, but there'll be limited amount of parking. But they'll still have some access to do that. But those are also shoulder months, maybe not quite as much as used. During that time, that's when we'll do the process that Jonathan talked about, is redoing all the sidewalks, building the additional 80 parking spots that we'll probably have, build all of the concrete around, build the parking lot up, and then hopefully that is done in spring, about the same time as the pickleball courts. And then we can come in and pave, because remember, a lot of the pickleball courts, a lot of that is asphalt, so we'll start putting down layers of asphalt for those. And then hopefully that's the same contractor that's doing a lot of those activities, except for the final two coats on the pickleball are very precise, and you have to hire an expert to come in and do those, so that'll be the second thing. And that's why we think probably probably next spring, that's when all the softball will be going. We've already communicated to the softball folks that for sure there won't be any fall softball, because that would go usually until November or so. And then spring, we want to be able to have the softball facility and the pickleball facility open up in the spring. And then they're starting to advertise and recruit for tournaments as soon as large regional and national tournaments for fall of 2004.
Joe, are you gonna bid that as a total project or piecemeal it, or?
Some of it will be piecemeal, but like all of the pickleball stuff, we'll bid that for a contractor. And then we'll have a separate contractor to probably do the fencing around the tennis courts. And then
The buildings, will that be a different?
yeah, unless Jonathan, will we all build a bathroom?
We'll have to contract that out.
And how about the paving and the parking? Will we bid that out as well, or will that be
Well,
public
we already
works?
have a contractor for the paving. And a lot of the drainage, we can do the drainage in-house, and we can put down the stone.
And we have
About
a
the
contract
picnic.
for all the new sidewalks, we'll have a contract.
Yeah, the contractors, so all within, that's pretty normal on how we would approach a project. But the big piece, the pickleball piece, that will be one big contract.
Okay.
What's your plans about the picnic area and the pavilion?
It's all redone.
Yeah, all the pavilions will have to be redone. That will be.
So you're not gonna tear them down and build new, you're gonna redo
No,
those?
I think, we think there's enough there to work with. I mean, the roofs have to be done, and they'll have to be scraped and repainted and all that stuff.
And there is drainage down there, so we have to do.
And and that's another.
Councilman Estes, you had a question?
Do you see the need to shut off the greenway throughput, or just fence it?
Councilman, you might want to speak into your
Probably wouldn't have to
microphone.
shut the greenway off.
He's broke it.
You probably wouldn't have to shut the greenway off unless we're working in that
Cut
particular area.
Pipe through?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we just put up some construction fencing and then temporarily,
We would reroute them if you had to go and do some stuff on the backside, is we would reroute them into the park, back around.
Okay.
Okay.
Because remember, there's gonna be a sidewalk now, and why wouldn't I bring the plan to the council meeting? But there'll be a sidewalk all the way from the pavilions and the dog park, all the way down, so you have connectivity in the park. So we'll just have to re-divert them to come around instead of that back piece to do that. And then we're adding parking along the entire side, all the way down past the skateboard thing. And so there'll be new parking, so that whole section will be all new through there.
Well, if possible, leave it open as long as you can, and not
We will.
reroute.
and then we will probably have to close the dog park a little bit to get that growing back.
Yeah, and
Do
then,
you have drainage there? That's the lowest part, right? And that's where the flooding comes. It's not where you're putting the pipe now from this drawing. You know, it's much lower over there and much more problematic than where you're gonna put the new pickleball courts. Is there any drainage? I mean,
Yeah,
That's the-
that area gets some new drainage.
it's got,
When we redo the pavilion. we'll
Okay,
do
good.
The grades and all that, we'll probably have a retaining wall and some drainage.
I bet that's almost 10 feet lower than where you're talking about right now. I mean, it's,
Yeah, that entire area changes with there's a cul-de-sac in the end
Uh-huh.
in our design, so you can.
Okay.
So you don't go down and you have to back off.
Dead end,
back
right.
out of there.
and the dumpster will get eliminated.
Yeah, the dumpster, about where the cul-de-sac is, that whole thing gets reworked.
excellent. Thanks.
And Mr. Miller, if we could make a note that Councilman Estes needs a new microphone. All right. Ending of that discussion. Are you,
Yeah, we got.
question, Councilman Castro?
Yeah, the where, go
Is
ahead.
it possible to get pictures of the whole park the way it's gonna be? I mean, is that available?
Well, we intended to bring all that stuff to the next meeting, and if that's all right, and if we get that, they're working on some of the engineered drawings, and I think they're probably pretty close, but we'll have it by then.
Councilman Castro.
Yeah, we've talked about the dog park several times, Joe, on the wear and tear on it. Is there any other turf that we can use, artificial turf? There's parks down in Chattanooga that do have that down there that I've been on. I don't know what to maintain and what it does, but the wear and tear through the summertime, especially the big dogs,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's feasible or not, but
Well-
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, the issue probably, we've had a number of conversations on this internally, and with you,
Yeah, 'cause
is just how, I mean, it was, because they have concrete barriers between the mulch areas and the grass areas.
Mm.
And what you have is that actually it performs fairly well like that until the Bermuda grass goes dormant,
Right.
and then it just gets run into the ground and you see exactly where the wear spark. So one of the, and I think Jonathan just kind of mentioned it, is that that's when we're shutting that down, is that we will probably bring the grass part further back from the opening and just have more mulch out there with some grass. You know, when you have small areas right by the entrance there that gets a lot of foot traffic, it's not working for us. And we will, because that was all privately donated, we'll probably give the Community Foundation and the other people that sponsored that probably some options that have some input as well. But the grass, because we just redid the sod last summer, and just over one period, it just chewed through that, and it's not, it regenerates during the winter, but when it gets as wet as it does, and I think that's what Dr. Estes was saying, and then you have dogs and people running out there, it just chews it up and it's gone.
Well,
You
and I-
can't overseed it with rye or anything, because they'd run that over in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we
So-
think it has to
it's
be
just-
some type of mulch or something like that.
And one other thing too, if I may, Mayor, we talked about Tinsley Park and we went all the way around and we had this long discussion. What about swimming pool?
What about what?
The swimming pool.
Swimming pool.
Swimming pool, Tinsley. We hit all the other areas, but that, I know that's kind of been a discussion. up
We're
and
going
down.
up there, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been pretty heavily
Has it?
used this summer.
Okay, all right. Is it pumping everything okay on it?
It's
So
actually
we're-
in pretty good shape right now.
Okay.
How's that for dodging the question?
Well, I just want to make sure. I'm sorry, I don't use it. My daughter has a pool we go to, so, but I knew that was a concern with the pump. I'll turn it on, and I haven't heard anything since then, so,
Well, I think we made more in one day this summer than we did all of last summer.
good.
Yeah, it actually, it's certainly tired and it certainly needs to be replaced. But is it functional right now? Yes.
Was that something we're considering doing too, replacing, when we do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think,
The pump and stuff?
you know, I think, some of this tourism money that we're gonna be having come in is that's one of the, you know, we need to start building a plan. Probably shame on us, and shame on me, if we don't have a comprehensive plan in place in the next couple of years. And one thing I wanna admit, or I mentioned this before, is that we are in the midst of a strategic plan for Parks and Recreation, and we will be talking to the Aqua folks, we'll talk to each swim team, I'm sure there's other, probably the schools, what the future needs are. We'll be talking to the Soccer Association, we'll be talking to pickleball, into what services and what amenities do we need to service Cleveland coming up. And we know, but I don't know if we've ever really had that conversation in a while. We did a parks plan 5 years ago, and we've already made a ton of progress just since the time that we've done that. So that's the piece, and part of that, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, is that we'll be having individual meetings with each council member on what the priorities are, and we'll create a document probably the end of the summer. And, well, this is what we found out, and getting back to, is that's where we need to have a real plan, if we need to put money aside, if we need to work on a location, if you need, because you could have something that's designed and ready to go, and when the council in the future says they want to do aquatic center, that it's just a matter of getting it done instead of, if Tinsley stopped operating right now, it would be probably 2 years, probably before you could put that, or do something, if you're gonna redo the whole thing. And our goal would be to have enough plans to answer the questions when people in the community ask, well, when are we gonna get a new pool, the schools have some needs, their facility at Denning Center has been on its last leg for 15 years, still working, that as a community, we need to have those conversations, and if we can have a plan ready, and it only just a matter of putting the money in place, that you know where you're gonna build it, you know what it is, and be able to do that's where we would like to be with a lot of these things.
Councilman Webb, anything further?
I would just say I appreciate the update. I think Tinsley Park is a tremendous asset in the community, and I think it has gotten tired, and I think everyone is looking forward to the updates to it and the additions to it with the new pickleball courts.
But I think that's the answer to traffic calming, is the Tinsley Park is the answer to traffic calming, is that people go very slow through that park, with all the potholes.
Yeah. I guess that's an option.
Wow.
Just give it some Botox.
Thank you, Mr. Fivas. Anything, so nothing further?
That's right.
Vice Mayor Johnson, you're recognized.
I wanted to comment about Juneteenth. Everything was great, and we had a big crowd of people. When I go to an event that big, I always just listen for problems. I didn't hear but one problem, and that was not enough parking. I couldn't believe it. The school gone, and they fill up all the parking places at school. But if there's any magic tricks left in the bag, Joe, that we can still do to add some more parking for the park, that would be appreciated. The other thing is, I had Mr. Raymond Scott, Miss Charlotte Scott, they live on 3840 Chill Howard Circle, and they still have water problems. Yeah, they got I don't know what the mechanism is in their backyard. They sent me a picture of it, and I tried to send it, but I ended up sending it to Tommy Myers, because I sent everything to Tom. But it's a drain or something in their backyard, and whenever they wash clothes, the water comes back into the house, into the basement. And then the water coming off the hill across the street, there's a drain out there right in front of their house before it goes across the road to their house. Yeah. Sometimes it stops up.
It's off of
They
Peerless
have a lot of
Road.
water problems getting in their basement door, under their garage.
The next road to the west, the next road to the right. It's a little dead-end street.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think we solved their initial problem of that the water comes across the street.
I
down
used
the
to live
hill,
on Chill High.
And it was going into their garage. I think we fixed that. You're saying that
Yeah.
downstream, there's a little bit more problems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll-
that
we're glad you
was,
contacted
that's
us.
one of them. But the biggest one that they
I
got
think
rid
he's a
of
former
in their
police
backyard.
officer. Isn't he a former police officer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a former police officer.
Joe, we put backflow, we fixed their backflow, in their house also. And the water that the councilman's talking about is actually from Indian Hills. It's coming down from Indian Hills and flowing in, and it floods the whole backyard. I've been out there when it's raining. And,
We fixed the front yard issues, because there's a hill. in
yeah, the
front
hill,
yard.
there's a house across the street that has a
So,
driveway.
But this is the back of what Dr.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I can get that picture, I'll see that. I'll get that picture.
We're happy to talk to them.
Okay.
Anything further, Vice
Phone
Mayor?
number?
You know what? They'll always have a problem because it's low where they build. It doesn't matter. We've had downpour rains. They'll always have a problem.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman McKenzie, First District.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say that I went to the VA grand opening, and that is a beautiful facility. And I know it took almost 20 years, and a lot of people working to get it done, but it is a beautiful addition to, again, District 1. I've got to give that plug every time, because District 1's improving. And, but it was really nice and well-deserved, and the people that live there deserve that beautiful facility. And then second, on the Centenary traffic problem. And I've talked to Joe about this a couple of times since I came on. I know Charlie talked to him about it when he was on. 14th Street has traffic problem too. And my one concern, and I do know that Centenary needs something done to slow them down, but once you slow that down, then my concern is that we're gonna get more on our street, 14th, and we're already having problems. We've got a gentleman, I don't know if he's one construction worker around the area, or if it's a young guy, but he's in a black truck, and this past week, he has just made that his 14th Street, his speedway. After midnight the other night, I heard him, and he started at Ocoee and he just flew past my house, and I'm not that far from Ocoee, and he was already just really moving. So, I would like, when they look at Centenary, I would like them to think about 14th Street too, because, again, I think that we'll get some overflow. I think Centenary should be fixed, but I think we'll get some overflow from that, and we are already having a problem. And I had asked in a previous meeting back several months ago, could Oak Street and 14th be a four-way stop instead of just a two-way to stop the traffic going so fast through there? So I would like for that to be looked at again as well. I've had several of the people on 14th Street talk to me about it, and we have one lady that she actually gets out in the street and tries to stop them, make them slow down. So it's a problem on 14th Street too, so I would just like to ask that that be looked at as well.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Estes, Second District.
Just briefly, Robert, the discussion we're gonna have with College Hill about the massive rezoning to R2 from CH. I talked to 3 different sets of folks, phone, text, face-to-face. Once they understood it, they were all for it. You know, I think it's really just communication. That's all it is. And the letter was, one of them read the whole letter to me over the thing. You know, I think we're doing the right thing. I appreciate you taking your time on this. Let's get it right. And I do just think it's just a matter of communication. Yeah. And I'm doing all I can to help you on that as well. That's all, man.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilman Cassidy.
Nothing at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Let the record show. Councilman May.
Yeah, Joe, I'm extremely happy that we're gonna have a ribbon cutting spring of '24 at the Tinsley Park.
You want to put an exact date on that?
Yeah.
Put it on the calendar.
The second thing, could you update us on the new municipal building at Inman and Ocoee?
Yeah, there's, I think, some scaffolding.
They started the demo and the asbestos removal, this week, so today, they're out there in full force today.
So no chores for the next couple of weeks.
We won't be going in the building for a little bit, but,
Okay.
so they've got their.
Talk about a little bit more of what they're taking out and all that.
They're
stuff.
taking out all the asbestos that are in the chases. And all the piping.
Do we have a projected time that you're going to put contracts out on construction?
Yeah, the architect has to have his entire package done by, make sure I tell you, it's either February, I think it's February or March, because we have to have that to the federal government for our, what's called SHPO one for our tax credits.
Yeah.
So they're on a deadline, and they said they would be, their goal is they've moved their finish line up to sometime in December to January. So we should see some stuff from the architect.
So that creates a pretty tight schedule.
It creates a tight schedule, but we have to get the historic tax credit.
And how's that going? I mean,
That's
what's been the reaction of all of that with the people involved with that?
Oh, yeah, everybody that's from the state and the federal are excited about our project. I think it's a good one.
Great.
So,
Yeah, that's all I've got there.
Thanks, Councilman, and thanks everyone for all of your input and comments during comments from council members. Mr. Fivas, yes, sir. Before we go on to new business,
I was told just before the meeting, and I think it's next week, Jonathan, that the Broad Street that's gonna be closed on Inman.
yes.
On Inman Street, Broad Street, is that we were doing our street cut next week, so it'll be a hard close. We will put out a communication to let people know. So probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's gonna be similar to that. The first two that we've done have went remarkably well. I will tell you that we hammered on that concrete for weeks and weeks over on Edward Street. It's amazing what happens when you just cut the concrete out and lift it up.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
But the first on, the stuff on, over at Edward Street, and of course, we're doing that to overhaul all the street, traffic light stuff. I think they've had conversations at the Cleveland Utilities Board, and they're watching the stuff, and, we've also communicated, have we heard back on the other, utility issues, water or sewer?
Well, they're looking at,
Yeah, we've asked Cleveland Utilities to look at, while we're doing all these street closing and doing that, is if there's water lines or sewer lines that need to be fixed or upgraded, that now would be a great time before we pave the road. So we made that official suggestion to them a while ago.
yes, we met with electric last week, and they know, the electric is on board, and they told us how many new conduits to put in the road and where to put them. So we have the electric and the fiber going to the new building.
Joe, before we pave Inman Street, I'm sure you will look at the water on the hotel, the Cherokee, about if you need to have a new wastewater, water hookup. Maybe look at the electric service coming in off of Church Street.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close to making a request to underground some of those wires on Church Street, that cross, there's stuff that
Yeah.
we'll wanna underground a lot of that, and that would include the pole behind the Cherokee that has a bunch of that we can put that power just on the building instead of.
Yeah,
making
certainly
it
clean it up a
spot.
lot, yeah.
We talked to them last week about that.
Yeah, good.
That one pole.
And we've heard rumors, not substantiated, that there's actually a water leak out in front of the Cherokee, right?
Somewhere on Inman right there. is what
And
they-
we've asked Cleveland Utilities to do, is that we think it's the feed into the building that has a leak on it,
Mm-hmm.
on their side of the thing. So that's one reason why we're asking them to do an analysis, because now is the time to get that fixed.
Yeah. According to a rumor.
According to the rumor.
Yeah, according to rumor, yeah. That's all.
that's great. No, it's great updates, and if we can make that intersection of that area as wonderfully improved and underground as the Edwards improvements in front of Sanda Mills and Sanda
Yeah.
Lofts,
Yeah.
it's just remarkable what you all have done, and that would be a great goal.
Yeah. I'm just piling on, but if you haven't been to Civitan, there's a lot of activity going on at Civitan A lot of new equipment has been installed. We're going to be doing the resurfacing on the surfacing for, you know, some, for over there, but we're making a lot of progress. Now, that part will be easier, probably, because a lot of the infrastructure is already there than what some of the Mosby issues that we had were. I have pictures and I'm happy to show, is that the animals that we've ordered are being produced, and they showed us pictures of a lot of them, and they're gonna be fantastic, and we hope to have that done before Stewart Elementary starts back up in the fall, if everything goes all right.
Great, that's a great update also. Mr. Fivas, before we begin with new business, item 10, my notes indicate that item J and item L are going to be moved for voting at a future meeting, J and L, just before we get into this rather large list. J is the parcel of 8 acres that was R3, Church of God of Prophecy trustees. And then L is Pugh and Lang Street right-of-way abandonment that we don't have the letter. All right, shall we begin? Next item, item 10A, Resolution 2023-58, a plan to adopt a plan of service for about 68.57 acres right-of-way located at Interstate 75, includes a portion of the right-of-way approximately between mile marker 24 and mile marker 20, and right-of-way located at Harrison Pike from the intersection of Freewell and Old Harrison Lane, southwest to Holmes Street Northwest, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. This does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman May, properly seconded by Councilman Cassada. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May?
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Councilman Hughes?
Aye.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson? Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman Estes?
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item B, Resolution 2023-59, a resolution to annex 68.57 acres, more or less, right-of-way located at Interstate 75, including a portion of the right-of-way approximately at mile marker 24 and mile marker 20, right-of-way located at Harrison Pike, from the intersection of Freewell Road and Old Harrison Lane southwest to Holmes Street Northwest, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0, and does require a
So
motion.
moved.
Proper motion by Ken Webb. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded by Councilman Estes. That's a proper motion, proper second. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Councilman Estes?
Aye.
Councilman Hughes?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Councilman May?
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Item C, zoning ordinance 2023-21, an ordinance to zone 4.37 acres more or less from unincorporated county to R2, low-density single and multifamily zoning. It includes tax map 041. It was approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. It does require a motion from this council.
So moved.
Proper motion by Councilman Hughes, proper seconded by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Hughes?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman Estes?
Aye.
Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Councilman May?
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item D, Resolution 2023-60. This is a resolution to adopt a plan of service for 3.76 acres, more or less, located at Freewell Road Northwest, and includes tax map 48, Group B, parcel 002.1, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0, and does require a motion from this council.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Castida, properly seconded by Estes. Is there any comments or questions from the council? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Cassidy?
Aye.
Councilman Estes?
Aye.
Councilman Hughes?
Aye.
Councilman Webb?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie?
Aye.
Councilman May?
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Thanks, Mr. Clerk. Resolution 2023-61 is a resolution to annex 3.76 acres of property located at Freewell Road Northwest. It includes tax map 48D. It was approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. This does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Ken Webb, properly seconded by David May. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Estes. Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Good news, Mr. Varnell. It looks like this is correctly printed as light industrial. Item F is zoning ordinance 2023-22, an ordinance to zone 3.76 acres. Property on Freewell Road from unincorporated to IL light industrial zoning, including tax map 48D Group B. This does require a motion from this council.
So moved.
Proper motion from Councilman Hughes. Is there a second?
Second.
Proper second from Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments or questions from the council? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie.
Aye.
Councilman Estes. Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
Thanks, Mr. Clerk. Motion passes. Resolution, item G, Resolution 2023-62. This is a resolution to adopt a plan of service for 7.87 acres, property located at Forest Avenue Northeast on tax map 05I. Approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. It does require a motion from this council.
So moved.
It's a proper motion by Councilman May. Is there a second?
Second.
Proper second by Vice Mayor Avery Johnson. Any comments or questions from the council? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie. Councilman Estes. Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Resolution 2023-63 is a resolution to annex 7.87 acres located at Forest Avenue Northeast, including tax map 50I, Group G, approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. It does require a motion from this council.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion by Councilman Ken Webb, properly seconded by Councilman Dale Hughes. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie. Councilman Estes. Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Item I is zoning ordinance 2023-23. It's an ordinance to zone 7.87 acres, more or less, of property located at Forest Avenue from unincorporated county to IL light industrial zoning, including tax map 50I Group G, and this action does require a motion from the council. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilman May makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded by Councilman Webb. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie. Councilman Estes. Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
It carries 7-0.
That motion is approved. Ordinance is approved. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item J, zoning ordinance 2023-24 has been moved to a future meeting. Item K on the agenda is ordinance 2023-25. It's an ordinance to amend Cleveland Municipal Code Title 14 zoning ordinance, Chapter 2, Section 1.6, definitions to define dwellings in Section 4.6.A3A to include a minimum square footage approved by the Planning Commission 7-0. This ordinance does require a motion from the council.
So moved.
Proper motion by Councilman Hughes. Is there a second?
Second.
Proper second by Councilman Webb. Proper motion, properly seconded. Any comments or questions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Hughes.
Aye.
Councilman Webb.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Aye.
Councilwoman McKenzie. Councilman Estes. Councilman Cassidy.
Aye.
Councilman May.
Aye.
Carries 7-0.
Thanks, Mr. Clerk. That motion passes. Item L on the agenda, ordinance 2023-26, has also been moved to a future meeting date. Lastly, it takes us to item number 11 on the agenda, announcements. We have a few announcements. The city offices will be closed Tuesday, July 4th, 2023, in observance of Independence Day. The next city council will be held in this chamber on Monday, July 10th, 2023. The July 24th city council meeting will be canceled due to the TML, Tennessee Municipal League Conference in Nashville. Any other comments or questions from the council? Seeing,
July 10th is over at, isn't there a dedication or ribbon cutting that, on that date also?
Mr. Fivas?
Yes, at noon, we will be having the re-grand opening or the rededication of Mosby Park. If you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, I think it's fits in the quality of a lot of the other areas that we've redeveloped. We'll be doing a number of things there, and I know you're looking for just a simple yes. But we'll provide lunch that day when we get back here. That there's a number of things that we're dedicating. There's a thing for Miss Grace Tucker. You have that, Patty?
It will be ready tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We have the playground for Miss Jessie's playground. The whole playground will be dedicated after Miss Jessie. They had a smaller playground that was dedicated, so this is rededicating that, and we have a plaque for that. And then we have the council plaque, hopefully by then. And then,
It's in this thing.
okay, good. And then we obviously have the sign on there, which was a question of a lot of discussion. If you look at the entrance with the arch, that's actually the original Mosby sign that they did back in '65. No, I'm not sure exactly what date, but we had an opportunity to get that refinished, and it looks just like new. So that we'll do all those rededications and invite anyone from the community to come and join us.
Great. It's a great
So
update.
What time will that start?
12 noon.
Noon, start at noon.
Noon at Mosby. We'll do that stuff. We'll come back here and we'll provide a sandwich in case you didn't have an opportunity to grab something.
Excellent. Thank you for that update, Mr. Fivas. Any other comments or questions from the council?
Yes, Mayor, I would ask Joe, is there any way to get Dr. Estes' mic fixed so it'll be mounted to the thing here for me, please?
Do you really want to hear him talk?
Well, he's gonna do it anyway, so just go ahead and get it fixed, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think he's willing to.
All right. Without any further
He swings on it a lot over there.
important business for the council, we stand adjourned.